Good morning, everyone. My name is Jared Morrison. I'm a Learning and Organizational Development Unit team member for OSU Extension. I'm a organization development consultant within that unit, and we welcome you in today to talk a little bit about Microsoft Teams. We, as a unit, have been using it now over the past several months as we've all been teleworking and communicating with each other. So we've been getting a lot of requests on some training here, so we'll be diving into some tips and tricks for Microsoft Teams. I want to introduce two of my unit colleagues. I have Amy and ShaLise here. So if Amy and ShaLise, you want to introduce yourselves quickly?
Hi, I'm Amy Kohmetscher. I'm an instructional development specialist with LOD.
And I am ShaLise Simmons. I am the program coordinator for LOD.
All right, thank you both so much. So the three of us will be here. We do welcome you to chat, message any questions or any comments along the way. We're also pretty okay with unmuting and speaking up as well, especially with this smaller size group. So please feel comfortable to speak up at any point if you have questions along the way. And we will jump in here. ShaLise will give a high level overview, and then we'll dive into the actual Microsoft Teams interface to start to look at the features in there. So ShaLise.
All righty, give me 1 second. As Jared mentioned, thank you for joining us today. This is the Microsoft Teams Training 101. Jumping right in to our objectives, what do we want to achieve today? So we want to learn what is Microsoft Teams, why this platform is useful, as well as the basic skills, understand the basic skills and fundamentals of Microsoft Teams and review policy. So what is Microsoft Teams? Microsoft Teams is a collaborative application that is your one-stop shop for hosting private chats, conversations, meetings, and sharing files. And we're going to move forward to why is Microsoft Teams useful? So for one, fewer emails. So for me, I'm consistently getting emails throughout the day. And so sometimes it gets hard to keep track. So I have to dedicate some time to where I make sure I'm, responsive and respond to everyone's emails. And so with Microsoft Teams, it's easier to kind of have those, to transition those hallway conversations, the quick questions, responses, and updates, either directly to my colleague through the Microsoft Team chat, or we'll talk about channels, but creating a conversation within the team. So that's one way to have fewer emails to kind of eliminate those threaded emails, I should say. Another reason is the convenience. So I can instantly meet, chat, share files from my desktop and from my phone. So with Microsoft Teams, they have an application that you can download onto your mobile device as well. So literally you can have everything in the palm of your hands, which is another good thing that I enjoy about Microsoft Teams. And last thing, you can collaborate with others. So Microsoft Teams allows you to simultaneously work on documents together with your colleagues. So you can add comments or chat while you're both in the same document. So it kind of eliminates that, creating the document, saving, then uploading again. It kind of eliminates that process. So that is the 3 top reasons. We're going to transition into how do I download Microsoft Teams. So I am a Mac user. So for me, I select the Launchpad app at the bottom of my screen, and I search the Ohio State University self-service application. And then that opens up this platform here, and I'll just search Microsoft Teams and then hit the install button. For PC users, there are 2 separate ways that may be useful to you. It might vary, but however, this is one way that you can download Microsoft Teams through the Ivanti Portal Manager. Same deal. You'll hit the search or the magnifying glass in the corner, and then you'll search Ivanti Portal Manager, and then again search Microsoft Teams and install from there. Same deal. This is another service center for a PC. It's called the Microsoft Endpoint Manager. And so basically same deal, you'll search the Microsoft Endpoint Manager, open that up, and then search Microsoft Teams and install from there. So that may apply to you, it may not apply to you, but that is the two general ways that PC users can download Microsoft Teams. Once you download the application, you will then be prompted to sign in with your OSU name.number and then your password. And once you hit that login, this is what the general Teams platform looks like. So I just wanted to give you a sneak peek of, we'll dive in more into Microsoft Teams, but here's a sneak peek of what that interface looks like. So you'll have your Teams, and then on the left-hand side, you have a few tabs. So you have the activity tab, chat, Teams, assignments, which we won't touch on, but that's a feature that you could utilize as well. Calendar, calls, and files. So what will we learn today? So we're going to cover how to create a channel. I will also show you how to add a member to your channel. We'll kind of talk about what a channel is. And then also I'm going to show you how to start a conversation, how to share files, create a meeting at a team member or the entire team. So basically notifying a team member or the other members within the team, and then collaborating on files. And then we may touch on staff notebooks, but generally these are the basic skills I will run over today. And then also, again, if you have questions, feel free to unmute yourselves since we do have a smaller group today. So just feel free to type it in the chat or unmute yourselves. And then the last thing, I just wanted to share our emails before we get started. I'll leave it up for a few minutes, but these are our emails. So if you have any other questions after this training, feel free to email us. We can assist you or point you to the right direction. All righty. So without further ado, I'm going to have Jared share his screen, and he's going to kind of show you the basic settings of Microsoft Teams.
Perfect. Thanks so much, ShaLise, for that overview. And so as we start to get into the Teams interface, what I'll start to focus on first is just kind of this outer shell of the program. And so hopefully this bar isn't in your way. I'll move it. So you should be able to see my entire Teams interface at this point. You'll see the outer layer on the top has a purple bar with the search bar housed within that. And on the left, there's also a main high-level menu. I like to think of Teams as a binder or a trapper keeper. So this purple bar and the black bar on the left side is kind of like your outside harder shell. And then each time you go into something, so whether that's into Teams, into a chat, you're kind of going deeper into layers within Teams. And you'll see that layers move towards the right once you're within Teams. So you'll see that as we get into some things here. A couple of things that I'm going to look at right now. First is up here in the top right, you'll see a tiny little picture of me ziplining, and that is my profile button that I have here. You may have a picture if it's already uploaded to your Microsoft 365 profile, or it might have your initials or a couple of letters. Sometimes the lettering conventions seem a bit off to me, but they certainly have a couple letters to deal with your name. So that is your profile button. There you can change your picture, and then you'll see several different setting options that you have in there. You can set your status. You can set messages to show up while you're away. If you have things bookmarked or saved throughout Teams, you can jump straight to those. You can zoom, several different shortcuts. I am going to open up this settings bar just to look at a few things. So if you click settings, it'll open up a new dialog box. Again, over here to the left are your main categories for the settings that you can change. So some general things that I want to look at. Most of you will likely be in the default format theme, which is much lighter than the version that you were just seeing on mine. So it still is purple on the top and kind of a deep purple there on the left, but most of the screen is white. I do prefer the dark mode, so I put it in there so that it turns black mostly. There is also a high contrast option. So if folks need that for visual impairment reasons or anything else, there is that option too. So I'll put mine back in dark mode. There's also 2 different formats to navigate. And so as you see here, this is my main, over here on the left, you'll see I'm in my teams area. So this is showing several different teams that I'm on, and this is the grid format. So each of these teams is in one of these nice little square boxes. You can also go back into your settings and change that to a list view. Once you do a list view, all your teams begin to show up here on the left-hand side with any subsequent channels showing, and you can collapse these as you see with the LOD team that I'm opening and closing. But all of your teams will be listed there, and then it always shows you whatever activity of whatever team you're highlighted on. So sometimes I can find this hard to navigate because as you click on things, it collapses and opens up a lot differently than some of the other programs I'm used to. So I do like to change or keep mine in grid view. So I'll change that back, but wanted to show you both those options. And then there's some other options with your application. Does it start when you turn on your computer and those types of things? There's some privacy settings, notifications, so you can decide when you get dings and lights and things like that when things happen within your teams. Devices, so any microphones or cameras or those types of things, speakers to do, permissions that you can do, and then calls, because you can make calls within the Teams application. So again, that's a pretty high level overview of settings, but wanted to make sure that you know that's all there. I've had a lot of people ask me, where do I change things, the nuts and bolts of my team? That's where you find that piece is up there under your profile. So I'll pause and ask for questions before Elise will take it back over to get into some of the tips and tricks. All right, ShaLise, you want to take it away to get into the tricks?
All righty. So everyone can see my screen. So we're going to go back to the Teams interface. So like Jared said, this is the basic interface you'll see with all your teams there. So we're going to jump into a team. I'm going to jump into the LOD training team, and I'm going to show you how to create a channel. So a channel is basically a way that you can break up your team into more focused topics or areas of work. And so for the LOD training team, I have created 4 different channels. So I have a brainstorming channel for any ideas that we have, just a general Microsoft Teams, if there's documents that I want to share. This is a random channel just for random ideas or fun things. And then I also have other topics for training. So those are, it's kind of like you have your general channel, and then you can break it down into other sub channels, if that makes sense. And so to create a channel, all you would do, so once you create your team, you'll go into the ellipses right here, and then you'll select add a channel. And let's say I want this to be a channel about conferences. I'll put upcoming conferences. So now this channel is solely just for the topic of upcoming conferences. So anything about that, anything that's happening in OSU or maybe outside of OSU, if people want to share that, they can share that under the upcoming conferences channel. And then you can also add a description if you would like, and then you can determine whether you want it to be accessible for everyone to join, to participate in the channel, or if you wanted just to make it private for only certain people to add their any feedback or any ideas or upcoming conferences that you want to share. So I'm going to make this a standard channel. So meaning that everyone a part of the team, all the members a part of the team can come into this channel and add any links or create conversations and chat and so forth. One little tip that I do want to add, that make sure that you check this box automatically show this channel on everyone's channel list. Because if you do not, then it will automatically, the default will be to hide the channel. And so those other members won't be able to even see that the channel exists. And so I learned that the hard way. So just as a practice of when you create a new channel, just automatically select that button. And then you're going to add. And then you'll see that new channel pop up on the left-hand side, right under topics for training. So now when you create your channel, you can go in and start a new conversation. So basically similar to like email threads, where you will start a conversation and then people can reply, from within the email. Same deal with this. So you can create a new conversation. And usually what I try to do is format the post or the conversation and add a subject line, again, similar to like email, how you would add a subject so everybody knows what this conversation is going to be about. And so I'm going to put the Extension Annual Conference. This is going to be the subject line. Oops. There we go. So I'm going to start upcoming conferences. I want to start a new conversation, and I actually want to just share an agenda with those within the team. So currently I only have Jared and Amy in the team, and I'll show you how to add other members. So since they are both in the team already, I want to kind of notify them that I am making a new, or I'm creating a new conversation, which is important because if you do not notify other members, they will not get that notification to at least look into Microsoft Teams and know what new conversation is going on or what's happening or updates. And so it's important to notify either the individuals or the whole team as a whole. So I'm going to say, please review the agenda and give feedback. And I'm going to, let's say I wanted to just notify Jared. So I would hit the @ button, so the shift #2 key, and then I can type in his last name. So kind of similar how you would start an email, you'll type in the last name, .number, same deal. Since this is all integrated with Outlook, it's everyone in the Ohio State system is within Microsoft Teams. And so since I added Jared to the channel, it automatically will pop up whenever I would start typing Morrison, it will show Jared, since that he is a part of the team. So I'm going to type in his name, it will populate. And so now when I add the agenda and when I would select or hit send, he will then get a pop-up in his activity bubble. And I'll talk about that as well. So I'm going to add a file because I want him to review the agenda. So to do that, you'll hit that paperclip at the bottom, upload from computer. And then I'm going to put the draft agenda for the Extension Annual Conference in there. Let that load. And then press send. So let's say I made a mistake and I attached the wrong file or I had a typo. So you're able to edit your conversations by hitting the ellipses right there. Hit edit, and then you can go back and change whatever you need to change. So that's one of the things I appreciate as well. Also, if let's say that there's a bunch of different conversations going on and I kind of want to make this post or this new conversation more prominent within the actual channel, I can create an announcement. And so now I have a bigger headline above the subject line. So I can say new update. And I can mark this as important as well, kind of similar how you can mark priority in an email. And then you can press the checkbox to send. And so now that the conversation now has an announcement, so it's a kind of more prominent within the channel. And then I also have my subject line. I have the document or the file that I added as well. Does anyone have questions thus far? Okay. All righty. So the next thing I'm going to show you is also with files. So I added that here, and it will also show up under the files tab within each channel. So now you can not only see the one in the conversation, you can also see it here. And so as posts are starting to populate, if you need to find a specific file, you don't have to keep scrolling through to find that file. You could just go directly to the Files tab. And one other note I want to add, so I added that file here in the upcoming conference team. And so meaning all the other, so I'm sorry, with each channel, there is a Files tab. So if I were to go to the general channel, that file will not be there because I only added that file to the upcoming conference channel. Does that make sense for everyone? Okay. This will also show up in the Files tab to your left. And this is kind of the like the higher level Files tab. So this is all of the files added within each team that you're a part of. And so you have your recent files that you just looked into. You also have, this is the Microsoft Teams tab, which shows you all the files that people have added or updated. And then you also have the downloads, all of the files that you've downloaded thus far. So this is kind of like the higher level files. So this populates all the files added from within your teams. When you go into your team and go in within the channels, it kind of, not silos, but it kind of gets, more, I don't want to say, like,
It's focused.
thank you, more focused on, the actual files added within each channel. So, thank you.
I do have a question. How
Mhm.
are there ways to troubleshoot Teams? Because, for example, in my Teams app, where you have the LOD training that kind of like where you navigate on the left, for
Mhm.
me, it only appears as something like bracket, bracket, button text, which means that it has a glitch and it's not showing up properly.
So that happens to me too at times. So what I do, all I do is go to my profile and then I'll sign out and then log back in, and then it
Okay.
should update with the correct channels on the side and and everything else. So, but that happens to me at, every blue moon as well.
Yep. Thanks.
You're welcome. All right, now I'm going to touch on, since we kind of going through what a channel is, adding a new conversation, adding a file. We're going to touch on the specific tabs to the left. So the activity tab kind of allows you to view all of your notifications. And so all the notifications that I receive without, all the teams that I've created will be hosted in this area right here. So, and one thing that I enjoy about Microsoft Teams, it'll take you directly to that to that update. So Debbie Lewis, which is an example, she made an update yesterday, and it notified me, and so I can go directly to that conversation. You can also filter out your notifications. So if you want to look for something specific, you can search by like name or a file. And so if I wanted to put agenda, that can kind of filter things out so you don't have to keep scrolling through to find the notification that you're specifically looking for. For chat, this is where you can chat with direct message your colleagues, which this is the part where I was saying the convenience of instantly chatting and kind of having those quick questions, the updates, sharing files specifically with your colleague. This is where that happens. And so this is a message I sent to Gwen just to let her know that I added her to the Extension Annual Conference team that I have, and that she can update or add her name to the sessions that were attached to the Excel file. So that's just something quick. I don't have to send her an email with the attached file. She can just go directly into Microsoft Teams and update that herself. And so to add or directly message someone, you'll hit the pencil tab in the top. You'll type in, so similar to how you would type in an email, you type the last name. So I'll type in Jared's again, which I already have something with Jared, but it'll populate that chat. And then I can just say, hey, Jared, do you have, or did you see the update in so now it's just a direct message to him. I don't have to email him about did he see it, and he can instantly type. And then one thing I appreciate too is I can see when he actually viewed it. So if he viewed it and didn't respond, and I can say like, hey, just checking back with you. Did you see the message I sent to you in Microsoft Teams? So he's typing. I don't know if he's gonna actually say anything. Okay. Also, you can see the files that you've shared. So I sent him a JPEG last week. And so all the files that I share directly with Jared will be in that files tab under chat, it kind of looks similar to a channel, like the channel name, and then the tabs that are to the right of the name. It's kind of similar to that. Calendar, this is where you can actually instantly meet, or you can create a new meeting. So when you instantly meet with someone, you'll just select the meet now. I hope it doesn't, we'll see. And then you'll hit join now. And once you do that, I'm not going to do that here, but once you do that, you will be able to, let me see if I can go back. This is my first time actually clicking it.
At least I think it may open a second window, so you might have to go to a different
Okay.
Teams window. And as she's doing that, I did want to note also when you're back in the Teams portion. So once we get back into that, you'll see each person has their little picture beside their name, whether you're in chat or in another team. And I think at one point you saw ShaLise hovered over somebody's contact and it popped up a little contact card. So that's nice, a nice feature that Teams has. So ShaLise, could you go back into like chat real quickly and hover over my picture there? And you can see the little contact card, which is nice, gives all the information about where they are. Then the icons at the bottom are kind of nice too. And one that I wanted to point out specifically is that in the middle, those three little connect the dots, that actually will open up an org chart to show you kind of like who I report to, who reports to me. So those are nice little features. Sometimes if you're like looking for other units across campus that you're like, I know this person, but I really want to get to their boss. Who might it be, right? I do that a lot. So this is a nice feature within Teams to show that. So far, I've found it to be correct every time I've taken a gamble on using it. So I think it's pretty accurate too.
I do have a question about meetings, because I haven't used it much here, but I know colleagues in other institutions that while it works great for within the institution meets, anytime that you want to try to meet with somebody outside, it's a big problem. So I'm assuming that we'll continue to use Zoom to do that. Is that correct?
Yes, that is definitely correct. Again, Teams is for, like how you said, it's all internal. So it's just that easy. So if I want to meet with Jared immediately right then and there, it's easy for me to do that. If I wanted to meet someone outside of the university, it'd probably be better just to send them a Zoom link, and then they can join from there.
That clarifies it, because I've heard different versions from different people. Thanks.
Yeah.
Can I ask
So
a quick question?
Mhm.
I am on multiple teams outside of this university that have been housed by US EPA or other either universities or federal agencies. And what's odd to me is when I go into Teams, all of our chats from our meetings are there, but I can't access the team. Every time I have to like go to some link that they give to me to get to that team, it doesn't automatically stay as a recognized team under my team's list. Is there any way you can get an external team to show up on your list?
So I did look into that yesterday because we had a lot of questions. So it is possible, one, to invite people from other institutions as guests, and you can. So as and I meant to show you this all earlier. So thanks for the reminder. Up there, when I was showing you my profile on the top right, where it was my picture, ShaLise has SS. Right now, you'll see there's nothing written beside, in the purple bar, there's nothing written beside ShaLise Simmons. What I learned is that if you're a member of teams in multiple organizations, beside that, so like for instance, ours would say the Ohio State University, typically you can click on that and it's a drop down and it will show you all of the other organizations. So that's interesting that your chats and things show up when you go to chat, but that the teams don't. But however, that's how I've learned that you would switch organizations, is by clicking that. As long as you're using the same email address, I think they all show up. So
That
these
is
are,
awesome. I just went there and saw a drop down list, and I've got like 5 teams that were
Yeah.
hidden that I'd never known I could access. So perfect.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so that'll be the same for if you invite folks from other institutions. That's kind of how they'll get into those. And I think ShaLise will show you how to do a guest here when we also look at just adding people to teams. The caveat is when you add somebody, they have to have a Microsoft 365 account. And so for a lot of academic institutions, that's maybe not a huge issue. A lot of academic institutions use Microsoft. I know we work with the public a lot in Extension. A lot of them use Gmail. And so they can still do it. They'll get the invite and then they'll be prompted to create a Microsoft 365 account. It's free, so it's not like they have to pay for it or anything, but it is a little bit of an extra step to get them access.
Thank you, Jared. That's something, now I've learned something new too. So we're gonna go back to adding a creating a meeting. And so again, this is for an internal use. I wouldn't use this for outside colleagues. So when creating a meeting, you'll hit the new meeting button under the calendar tab. And this is where you will add a title. And so I can put meeting. And then I can add the required attendees. I can also make them optional. It's kind of similar how you would do an Outlook. But I'm going to add the Jared in there, and then I'm going to also add Amy. And then you could control, the date and the time. You can also determine whether this is a weekly, monthly, or yearly meeting. You can also add this to a certain specific channel. So I want to add this to the LOD training channel under Microsoft Teams training. And I'll show you how it populates there. And then I can add a location. So we're all working remotely. So I'm just going to put in Zoom. This is just going to be a Zoom call. It can also, so when you create a meeting, Microsoft Teams will already populate a link that everybody can just join within Microsoft Teams. So if you do have a Zoom link that you just want everybody to meet outside of Microsoft Teams, you can add that here into the details. But it also auto-populates a link within Microsoft Teams where you can just join directly within the channel. So I'm going to send that. And now it populates in your calendar. And so since this is also integrated with Outlook, you'll also see other meetings that you have on your calendar. And then this will also show up on your Outlook calendar as well. And then when you go to the LOD training team under Microsoft Teams training, now, let me move this. Now you can see that the meeting is there. And then once that time begins, it'll say join now. And now everybody within that channel or within the team or everybody that I invited will be able to join directly from the channel. So let's say I want to add a member who isn't a part of the LOD training team. So to do that, I will go into the ellipses right here, add member. And then again, type in the last name. I'm going to add our director. And then select add. And then you'll see on the right-hand corner, it'll say if I want to make them the owner or if I want to make them a member. There is no difference between the owner and member that I've found. They have the same capabilities of just viewing things, adding files, messaging. However, I'm just going to say it would be just the title. So I can make T the owner of this team. That would be the only difference, is just the title of owner and member. And I'm going to close that there. And so now T is added to the team. And then in the general channel, it should also show up. I might have to go out of it. Maybe not. Usually it'll show an update. So like it'll say ShaLise added T McCoy. I don't know why that's not showing up right now. So we're going to go move past that. So now T is added. Let's say I want to add somebody outside of our LOD or outside from our OSU system. So I'm going to add my general Gmail account. And so to do that, you'll just type in their normal account. And then I'll say guest. So now you'll add them as a guest. And then now it'll just, it'll have that title next to their name. And now, so for me, if I wanted to go into my Gmail account, I could access Microsoft Teams. Again, I would have to download and create, my own account, but I can now access this from my Gmail account. Does anybody have questions from there? No.
ShaLise, we did have a question about the calendar. So if we can go back to the calendar quickly. Well, actually, I'll pause a second to see if anyone did have questions about the adding a member. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump too quickly. Okay, so for the calendar, ShaLise, could you click on a time just later this afternoon? Maybe about 2 p.m. Yeah, that works. Perfect. And then type in my name. So the question was, will you be able to see if other folks are available so you don't accidentally schedule a meeting within Teams where they're already booked? So there you go. Thanks, ShaLise. You can do the scheduling assist just like you would in Outlook. So it does pull that data and information from Outlook because it's connected to your Microsoft 365 account. So as long as those people keep their calendars up to date, which is also a problem in Outlook at times, depending on who you're working with, right? Then yes, you should be fine to do the same thing here too.
One more quick addition about permissions and owner and member roles. So ShaLise was talking about members' ability to collaborate and contribute within the team. And all, like ShaLise said, those permissions are pretty much the same to add to files and collaborate. The main difference with the team owners is they are the ones who control essentially the team roster. They can add and remove members while members cannot do that. So if you want to be the only person in charge of who is involved in a team, then you want to be the owner and everyone else should be a member.
And also you can manage, so as an owner, you can manage the team from here if you hit the 3 dots right there and then manage team. So you can see all the members that are a part of that team. And then you can also see the channels that are there. And you can control here whether they are showing for other members or not. And then again, you have your settings for that team. And they also do analytics and other cool things within your team as well. All right, the last thing I was going to show is the, also I didn't touch on the call feature, I'm sorry. So you can make calls within Microsoft Teams. It's not a thing of dialing a number, since everyone within the OSU system is a part of Microsoft Teams. You can literally just type their name in and make a call, and it'll directly call them within Microsoft Teams. So it won't call their cell phone, it won't call their office phone. It will literally populate the call within the app or within their desktop within Microsoft Teams. And then this is the call button. So this would be the Meet Now button, and then this will be the call button. So you can directly call from there. It also keeps your voicemails as well. So the same voicemails that are sent to your Outlook account will also populate here as well, if you need that. I'm going to go back to the team, and I'm going to show you how you can collaborate on a file. So I'm going to create a new conversation again. I'm going to format that conversation so that everyone knows what this conversation is going to be about. And I'm going to put the support staff conference agenda. And I'm going to say review and make edits. And actually, you know what? I probably should be in the upcoming conference team. I'm gonna do that again. So this is another conference that happens. Review. Agenda. Oh. And I'm going to tag the entire team. So to do that, so instead of tagging a specific person, I want to let all the team members within that team know to review and edit the agenda. So I'm going to hit the @ symbol again, and I'm going to type in the word team. And now the LOD training team will populate. And so now everyone within that team will get a notification to review and edit the agenda. And I'm going to add the agenda again. And so now this is the one thing I enjoy too. So, and I should probably show you as well. I'm going to send that. And then this addition button, which I didn't kind of cover, has different applications that you can add to your channel or to your team. So they have Word, they have PowerPoint, Excel, they have Planner, which is approved, and Forms. Forms is kind of like the survey app within Microsoft. And so you would use that if you want to create a quick survey for people to choose any choice or any selection. You want just something quick, you can create that form and it'll create a new conversation in here.
So quick review while we're talking about the apps.
Mm-hmm.
There are only 4 approved. You are going to see a giant list available, but the ones that are approved are Planner, Sway, Forms, and Zoom. The rest are all still going through a variety of reviews, so we don't have any more on the finalized list. I heard from OCIO that they are trying to clean up that list to make it less confusing for you all. So only appeared apps show up in the list, but it's a really technical process, so it's taking a while. So I'll type that in the chat, just the 4 approved apps for everybody's reference.
Yeah, thank you, because that, as you said, it's confusing that all of those are there, but they are not approved. And one other one that I'm going to suggest, if we're going that way, DocuSigns, if at some point that could be pushed to be approved, that'll be great. Otherwise, then we have another system that we have to take care of.
Yeah, thank you. All righty. So I added that file into the channel. I'm going to select that file because I'm going to show you how you and other colleagues can collaborate at the same time. And so I'm going to ask Jared to come in and either make a comment or add, change something so you can see how while I'm in the document, others can come in and change as well, change things around as well. And one other thing I want to add too, so just similar to how I added the conversation there. Yes, you can see Jared typing. So when I added the conversation there, it shows the same conversation that was added in the channel. And so if others had any comments or anything here, I could see that as well while I'm in the document. But this is the comments section within the Word within Microsoft Teams. So that's one thing I appreciate, especially so I have a different planning committees. And so instead of sending an email and saying, everybody, can you please review this document and let me know what I need to edit or change? And then I'm getting 5 different emails like, please change this, or please change this. And then some people say the same thing or repeat the same thing. So it's just easier if I just say, hey, everybody, I added the agenda to Microsoft Teams channel. Please review and edit within Microsoft Teams. I can then see the populated comments and conversations on that within Microsoft Teams. So that's one thing I appreciate. And then that is all I was going to show you today. Am I missing anything, Jared or Amy.
I was just going to say, when you do that file editing and working in there, it works for all the Microsoft apps. So Word, PowerPoint, Excel, all of them you can do to edit live in there.
And then also last thing too, you don't have to save anything. So let's say you did want to work, you didn't want to work in Microsoft Teams. Oops, wrong document. So you didn't want to work in Microsoft Teams. You kind of want to open it up in your desktop. So if you did open it up in your desktop, it auto saves that file as well. And so it'll have, well, I want to see if I can show you. Let me see.
I don't think it'll show us your actual, but basically this opens up a Word doc. Oh,
I'm gonna say probably won't. Okay, but
Um,
yeah, it'll open up a regular Word doc, and then at the top you'll see like it'll have the save button, and then it'll have the continuous circles, so showing you that it updates while you're typing. So everything that you'll see here, it's populating my name, so whatever I'm typing on my desktop will show up here as well.
And it is also possible to download entirely so that you're not changing a shared version. So please, that's one thing I like to remind teams of, that if you're changing the shared version, you're changing it for everyone. So don't make personal notes or things like that if that's what you're doing.
Alrighty, and then did you just want to briefly touch on staff notebooks and what's basically?
Yeah, so we'll briefly touch on staff notebooks because I know there were several people talking about those. So let me go back to sharing my screen. And actually, Amy, did you want to touch on policy at all before we get into that?
Sure, I can touch on the data policy, and I see a question in the chat. Do you have to add apps to each channel? ShaLise, maybe you want to quickly address that for us?
Yes, you do. So I'll share my screen so you guys can see. So let's say I added the planner to just the upcoming conferences channel. And planner is just a way you can stay organized. You can assign tasks and different things. So I use that as well as I'm creating tasks for the planning committee. So you can see that here. However, if I go to the brainstorming channel, that is not there. So you would have to add it to each channel if that's something that you're interested in. As for like the Microsoft, PowerPoint, Excel, whatever document you add, it will just open up automatically. You don't have to add the app in order to open a Microsoft or PowerPoint or Excel document. But for the other apps, you do have to download within each channel for it to show.
Thanks, ShaLise. So as far as data security and policy go, Microsoft Teams was recently approved for S4 data. I encourage you all to visit the Cloud Assessment Registry and the data security policy as far as data element classification, especially if you're dealing with that S4 level data. The levels change based on the combination of elements. I personally don't handle very many of those types of elements. I'll drop those links that pertain to data security in the chat. Now, I will say, since Teams has been cleared to handle such high levels of data, be very careful about who you're adding to Teams and who you're adding to channels and who you're sharing files with. So you might want to think about your team organization from the aspect of, if we're handling really sensitive data, who's entitled to that data? And just start there, where you limit the team to only people allowed to view it, so you don't accidentally share something to the wrong channel. Just to be mindful of that. So I'll go find those data security links. Jared, we got a couple minutes if you want to touch on notebooks really quick.
Before you move there, just one quick question. What would be the relationship then between Teams and OneDrive? Because OneDrive will function obviously like Box, and it would be for us to store secure information.
Right. So Teams has files which are powered by OneDrive. So any documents that are shared to teams are inherently shared with the rest of your team, wherever you put that. So if you have something that's really private for your use only as an instructor, Luis, I know you teach. So if you've got like a student roster that's not for anybody else's eyes with like identification numbers, you're going to want to put that in OneDrive instead. If you
Got it.
start in OneDrive, that document starts privately as your own and you actively share it. So I would recommend that all documents for your viewing only,
Yeah,
don't put them anywhere in Teams.
that was the question. Thanks.
So yeah, again, they're intimately tied together, but if you share it to teams first, it's going to be shared to the whole team. If you share it in OneDrive first, you
Yeah,
control them.
that was the
Yeah.
question, and that clarifies it. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, so notebooks we will look at then, which is powered by OneNote, the Microsoft application. So let me share my screen. And again, I'm in this LOD training team that ShaLise has been spending most of her time in. You'll see here at the top. So right now I'm on the general channel, and I'm not sure we said this, but the general channel is created by default when you create a team. You can, I think, rename it, but it's, so for instance, our LOD team, that's where we say like, happy birthday, happy Friday, share funny memes, right? Like that's our water cooler, for lack of a better term. That's where we have our just fun conversations and things. So you'll see that general channel has staff notebook. And so this is where you would initiate the notebook for this entire team. Subsequent channels you'll see have notes, which will look like a note page that will revert back into that staff notebook for this team. The notebooks are specific by team. So if you start one here in LOD training, it will not be in any of my other teams at that time. So if we open up notes, you'll see that it opens up basically a blank canvas. I think it was, no, this is the one I started. So I will say that occasionally I've noticed this notes to be a bit laggy. That's the only downfall, or one of the downfalls I can say. So I started this one. It opens up blank with no title up here. I typed this in. It tells you when it was last edited or created. I just typed this note as well. This is nice because you can insert any type of media here. You can do pictures, you can do audio files, charts, graphs, videos, whatever it might be. You can also type. And then I think this would also be very well utilized on mobile devices. If you actually have a stylus and like to type or write along, you can do that here. It's pretty free and open. I will say that it by default opens without seeing authors. So if you go to this view tab, and then you can go over here and say show authors, and then it pops up these little brackets to show you who's writing each block. I wish it would default to show up with authors, but it does not. So each time you go in, you have to go turn that on. So again, the blank page in the notes, and that's in your subsequent channels. If you go into your general channels and into staff notebook, you'll see that each time it opens you up to kind of a generalized what this is for. Notebooks are broken down into these three basic areas. There's a collaboration space, which essentially will pull in that page I just showed you, note pages where everyone in your team can add to those, make edits, add videos, add files, etc. There's a content library, which as it says here is a read-only piece. So only the owner is able to upload or change anything in that space. Everyone else on the team would simply be able to read only. So that might be good for policy type stuff. Hey, here's a new policy, the newest update. Check it out to see if you like it. If you have any suggestions, let me know in a different method. And then there's private, which will show up to only that person. Up here in the upper left of the notebook, there's a little arrow. If you hit that, that opens up your menu option. So you see collaboration space. If I expand that down, you'll see a few of these that are automatically populated on their own. And then right here, this gray one that says Microsoft Teams Training, that's the note page I was just in showing you that I created in that subsequent channel. all of them have a using this space. So it kind of tells you a little bit how you might use that space. That's true in the collaboration space, the content library, and in your personal area. So you can see those. And again, anything in your personal area only shows up to you. And so no one else will see those. And I've gone in and labeled these for myself. So they'll show up as just basic names for you. I've edited these all to use for myself. Any specific questions about notebooks? I know it sounds like some other folks were using it. I do not use it regularly. So if there's any tips from folks who are using it or questions about how to use it, that might be a good place to open up. I do also see that we're short on time, so I don't want anybody to feel obligated to stay around if they have other meetings or anything to go to. So please feel free if you need to move on. But yeah, we can kind of open it up now for more specific questions and dive into Q&A to see what we need to answer. So we thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to Amy and ShaLise for being here to lead things too, and for all of you being engaged and participating along the way. And we will share this out soon once the recording is done rendering.